Hi everyone, this is Tarot. So I'm gonna show you all the oracle cards I've got. This video is more about my opinions and personal experiences with each deck, why I bought it, how and when I use it, and what I like about it, rather than going into technical information or systems. So it's similar to my tarot deck collection part 1, so feel free to watch that as well. The link will be in the description. So I have 21 oracle decks in total. As you can see, it's not a huge collection, but I do use all of them in my own way. So yeah, let's get started. So this was actually my very first oracle deck, Walk Your Light oracle cards from Hay-House. It has really beautiful images and the box design. I really like the back as well, it's so beautiful. And it's very ethereal, not very earthy, you know, more like spiritual and airy. I was drawn to this deck because of the colors. I really love the pastel tones. So this deck wants you to connect with your higher self, you know, your soul and what your soul is speaking. And it also goes beyond that. It wants you to connect with the universe or God, you know, something higher than yourself. So it encourages communication between your soul and a higher being. So it sounds very vast, right? So when I first bought it, I read the guidebook over and over, but I still didn't fully get it because the concept is quite advanced. So like, you know, it's good way to learn still, because I wouldn't say it's beginner friendly unless you want to read more intuitively instead of worrying about what the author intended. But like I said, I'm glad I bought it in the beginning because I learned a lot about the spiritual world. So it says Akasha. I didn't have any idea whatsoever what it is, and it talks about the Akashic records. So yeah, something like that. Like sometimes it also talks about alien beings and some star shades or something. It feels like you are in heaven or something. So yeah, and also it doesn't really matter whether you are like religious or not. Also, it is inclusive of like every belief. I like that. Though I wish there was some Asian people represented in the artwork. But yeah, it can be quite difficult if you are at the beginning of your spiritual journey. But you know, you gotta start somewhere if you want to learn about those stuff. And I used to rely on the guidebook a lot because I didn't know much about back then. But now I read it more intuitively. I focus on the card itself. Sometimes I still read the guidebook for reference, but mostly I just trust the imagery. The art is kind of collage style, which I usually don't like, but this one's different. I used to use it a lot. Like they have yes or no card, which is always helpful. Yeah, but I don't use it as often as before because I have other oracle decks that I use more often. Still, it's a great deck if you really want to dive into the spiritual world. Yeah, so look at the imagery. They are so beautiful. Like it pairs really well with some particular style of artwork. So it's really good on cameras. That's why I've been using this so much on my pick a card reading, and it's not going anywhere. Sometimes I don't really feel connect with this card, this deck, but then I always come back to this because it's my first deck and there is something really, I don't know, something mystical about it. So yeah, Walk Your Light oracle cards. And I think it was one of my very first oracle decks, Energy Oracle cards by Sandra and Taylor. I'm not sure if it was first or the second, but as soon as I saw the name, I saw I need this one because it sounded kind of scientific. So it seemed perfect to me because my chemistry degree pretty much shaped my belief. It made me open to many unknown factors like that. So you can use it in so many ways, like tarot. So for predictions, guidance or advice. The back design also feels a bit scientific too. It's not the prettiest deck in the world, honestly. And the artwork almost looks like AI generated. I don't think it actually is, but the people here look strangely real and fake at the same time. So this deck is a straight shooter. It doesn't sugarcoat anything. It just tells you how it is. And one of my favorite thing is it includes archangels linked to each chakra. So yeah, you get to learn about both chakra and angels. So perfect if you are just getting into spiritual work. I like it because it's very confident, bold, and not shy at all. I wouldn't call it aesthetic at all. Sometimes I wish it were prettier, but that's what makes it cool in a way, you know. I mean, it actually reminds me of my Rider tarot deck that comes in the yellow box. Yeah, you know, simple, direct, no nonsense. It has more cards than a typical oracle deck, so it's 53 in total, and it's very practical. I still use it a lot for my pick a card readings, but I don't use it for my clients. It's just a personal choice. I usually don't use oracle decks for client readings, but honestly this one would work just fine. And it's not too far from tarot, which I like because it still feels somewhat tarot-like while keeping that oracle freedom. You know, you can read it completely intuitively. No need to worry about structure or symbolism. The imagery is really direct. Look at this. Door to value, and it has money. But yeah. Yeah, I like that. It's beginner friendly and clear. So if you want something straightforward to complement tarot, if you want to, you know, clarify your tarot readings, this is a perfect choice. It's not very diverse. I think there is maybe just one Asian person in the whole deck, but overall it's useful and dependable deck. And the card stock is not amazing, which is typical of like Hay House, their earlier decks. Maybe these days they have better stock, I know that, but yeah. But you know, the guidebook is great, and it even includes the reversals meaning. But normally I don't read reversals for oracle cards, but sometimes I feel like the energy really matches that reversed energy, then I can refer to that. So it's just perfect. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites and most used oracle decks, though it's not, the art style is not really my kind of aesthetic. But yeah, Energy Oracle cards by Sandra and Taylor. So I've got only 2 in the oracle decks, and this one's the Truth deck. The back design is really simple like this, but it's such a brilliant deck. Yeah, I first saw it on Avalon Intuitive's channel, and the moment I saw it, I knew I needed it. I thought, wow, that deck would help me so much, because sometimes when you pull your tarot cards, you get stuck or feel blocked, and this is a great way to start your reading. Sometimes you know exactly what you feel, but you can't put it into words, and this deck helps you articulate that. You know, it helps you find the right words. It's so accurate, so useful. It's got everything, like timing, yes, no, guidance, love, career predictions, anything. It's a shame they don't print it anymore, but you can still buy the PDF file. I will link their website below. It's definitely a straight shooter. You know, sometimes the message hit hard. It can be scary, but sometimes you might not resonate with the message right away, but later you realize, wow, that was the truth. There are about 100 cards and they came in this little pouch that says get your truth. Yeah, I bought this about 4 years ago, but I wanted to show you this earlier than other oracle decks because honestly I use it all the time for myself and for clients, and pick a card readings. Yeah, it really helps me unblock my intuition. The cardstock is really thin and papery, but it's fine because there are a lot of cards. So yeah, and it has number on it. So if you know a little bit about numerology, it makes more sense sometimes. Also, like the number on it and the message, it kind of linked to the tarot as well. Some of them really, like, you can tell why it has that particular number or something. And also sometimes even astrology. So it's like the more you know about things, the more useful it gets and the more you understand. So yeah, I won't show you all the cards because there are so many. Yeah, this is one of my favorite and the most used cards. And this is my other indie oracle deck, Money and Career Oracle cards. Look at this bag. It's literally money. Yeah, I also got it from an Etsy shop. And this one's still available. It's the first edition. I actually prefer the artwork in this one to the second one. It's all about money and career, obviously, but I love it because it's more than just jobs. It talks about career in a broader sense. It also talks about life direction, purpose, and abundance in general. Each card includes predictions, advice, and sometimes a description of a person or talent. It doesn't come with a guidebook, but you don't need one anyway because everything is written on the card. It's really convenient. I love it. I first saw this deck on Anita Sorin's channel. I really love her. You might know her as Tagore the Practical Witch. She's so entertaining and realistic. This deck actually reminds me of her, very direct and practical. So yeah, I did want the second edition though because I like the description more because they have more information, it looked like. But I bought it since, around 2021 or 2022 after COVID. But at the time, the second edition alone wasn't shipping to Korea. I don't know. I just got this one instead. I even asked the creator, why wouldn't you ship the second edition when you are willing to ship this one? But I couldn't get the answer. But anyway, that's all right. Yeah, because I'm glad I got it. Because it's more aesthetic to me than the second one. Yeah, it looks like they are reprinting this version, and I can totally see why. Maybe people also find it more aesthetic. But yeah, it was pricey, but worth it because there's really nothing else quite like it. Yeah, I will link the Etsy shop below. Honestly, I haven't stopped using it since I got it. It's with me all the time. It's such a great practical deck. Sometimes I even use it for my clients when the questions are about money and career. But you can use it in so many different ways. Like if you want to find out what someone else is doing, like what they do or their situation and things like that. Yeah, I just love it. Look at this windfall. Who wouldn't love this card? But yeah, I wouldn't show it all because there are so many. I think there are hundreds of cards. So yeah, very practical, useful, my favorite and most used card, Money and Career Oracle cards. So this is one of my very first Oracle decks, Life Purpose Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue. So the moment I saw the title, I wanted to have it because I've always been so into things like, what's my purpose? Where is my life going? Especially at the time when I bought it. But if you are trying to figure out where your life is heading or just what direction to take in a certain situation, this deck is perfect. So the back looks like this. It has this angel image, probably from one of the cards. It's so pretty and so angelic, which really matches the deck's energy. So what I love about it is that it's so useful. It gives you insight into what kind of job or career might suit you and what choices you might want to make, you know, or even some advice and predictions. It doesn't necessarily have to be about a long-term purpose. It can be about a short-term one too. You can use it for any kind of question really, not just career related. It gives you a sense of direction in general. This is honestly one of my favorite oracle cards of all time. So before I got my money and career oracle cards, I used this all the time. So the artwork is very classic, not diverse though. Like I don't see any like Asian people here, but the cardstock feels amazing. It's glossy but not slippery. Yeah, it bends really easily but feels really sturdy. I don't know, and the gold etching is really beautiful. And it shuffles so beautifully. There is something so satisfying about shuffling this deck. I think it will last for years and years. So when I first bought this deck, I didn't know anything about Doreen Virtue or oracle cards in general. It could have been my like second or third oracle decks ever. I really loved it instantly. There is something really special about this energy. But I wanted to show Doreen Virtue's decks together, one after another. But I'm showing this one first because this deck itself means so much to me. Not because of her name. I have a special connection with this. It's very accurate too. Even though it's an oracle deck, it gives surprisingly precise predictions and guidance. So I'm sure it's out of print now. It was still available when I first started learning tarot. I didn't even know she had changed direction back then. But I'm so glad I got it while it was still widely available. Now it just feels like an old friend, you know. I know this deck so well now. I've read the guidebook many times and this is a great guidebook too. I use it comfortably. I can use it for my client readings when their questions are about like career direction and life path. I often use this deck in my pick a card readings, especially towards the end for guidance. It's such a great deck. Surprisingly, it only has like 44 card, yeah, it's so versatile. It's not just about money or career. It's about life as a whole, you know. You don't even have to read the words literally. You know, you can read it intuitively. So, for example, if you pull this card, music, it doesn't have to mean actual music, you know. It can mean joy, rhythm, expression, or like how you are moving through life, you know. That's what I love. It's flexible. So you can read it intuitively or literally, and each time it shows you something new. You know, the artwork is beautiful too, very classic and a little old in a charming way. It's clearly artwork, not photographic, and it's so well done. I'm sure multiple artists were involved, which is common in Doreen Virtue decks, but for this one, it still feels quite consistent overall. So yeah, one of my all-time favorites. Life Purpose Oracle cards. And this one is Archetype cards by Caroline Myss. So this is not a fortune telling deck. It's more about psychology and self-reflection. So each card has an archetype with its light and shadow sides. And the idea is that we all have 12 archetypes within us. And 4 of them are universal. So the child, prostitute, victim, and saboteur. I really love the concept, and the artwork is really cool. The cardstock is quite thin and flimsy, but there are so many cards, so it's fine. Like there are 80 cards here. So I use it to see what kind of energy is at play, like what part of you or someone else is helping or blocking a situation. It's also fun to use in love readings to see what kind of person someone might be dealing with or someone might meet. I absolutely love her work. She has an audiobook, more like a lecture series about archetypes that's around like 12 hours long, but I enjoyed every minute of it. I listened to it multiple times. So she explains so many archetypes in depth, and after listening to her, I appreciate this deck so much more. For example, you know, the prostitute, that archetype isn't literal. It's more about like compromising your values or worth to survive, to get something you want, like recognition or comfort. So basically, when you sacrifice your integrity for material security, that's the shadow side of the prostitute archetype. It's so brilliant. So after listening to her work many times, because she also has a YouTube channel, I became much more confident using this deck. It's not really for prediction, it's more for understanding people, relationships, or yourself on a deeper level. I don't use it for clients, but it's great for pick a card readings when you want to explore the dynamics between people. It's such a great study and self-awareness deck. So when I first bought it, I was a bit confused. It was really hard to understand. I had to reread the guidebook many times, but after listening to her audio lectures, it was like a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, everything just clicked. Now I understand it deeply, and I really appreciate what it offers. So yeah, there are like 80 cards I wouldn't be able to show you, but yeah, it's a great deck if you want that kind of concept, and if you want to listen to her, like she's a brilliant person, so I really recommend you to check out her YouTube channel as well. So Archetype cards by Caroline Myss. It's from the Hay House. And this is the Tea Leaf Fortune card. It's basically a fortune telling deck. It's very straightforward, very divinatory, and I love it. It's one of those decks that just slips into any reading so naturally. You can chuck it on top of your tarot spread or just use it on its own. So you get 182 symbol cards, 12 months cards and 6 astral houses, which basically cover every major area: love, career, money, like all that. If you want to check what's happening in each area specifically, the astral house system is brilliant for that. But I just mix the whole lot together and read them as one massive divination deck. And whenever a month card pops out, that's your timing, easy. It tells you straight away when something's going to be significant. So yeah, I'll show you just a part of them because there are so many. So yeah, the artwork is very classic, very vintage, and the symbols are ridiculously universal, like a dog being loyalty and friendship, handshake for agreement, broken ring for a spirit. It just makes immediate sense. You don't need to study symbolism for ages. You just get it, you know. So the round cards are adorable, but because there are so many cards, they are like quite hard to shuffle. That's why it comes with this pouch. You can mix them inside this pouch and pull cards from here. What I do, I take a chunk of the cards without looking, because you literally can't shuffle the whole 182 at once. So yeah, like this, shuffle overhand, wait until I feel ready. If the cards jump like that, I will take that, but if I accidentally see the top card, I don't take it. Instead, I choose from the bottom so I can pull blindly without seeing the image. That works really well for me. So yeah, this deck pairs so nicely with tarot or any like kind of readings. It adds more story, extra details, extra layers. It fills in the little gaps in a reading. You know, it's very cute, and also very classic. Yeah, when I read the guidebook first, the meanings looked a bit too simple, but they're actually deeper than you think. If you want depth, read the book. If not, like, you are totally fine reading it intuitively. And honestly, you don't have to follow the book literally. You can like interpret each symbol however you want. So if a certain symbol means something personal to you, just use that. And one thing I found really fascinating is that tea leaf reading is actually older than tarot. It's such an old traditional form of divination. I really like using something with that sort of history behind it. Yeah, I bought this deck a year or two ago, and at first I was overwhelmed, like 182 cards. I had to memorize everything. I read the instruction and the basic structure because it's so well written. But when I reached the 182 meanings, I stopped because there was no way I could remember it all. You know, sometimes I do look at the guidebook if I want to have more insight, but yeah, I often read intuitively, and honestly, it works perfectly. Now that I'm more like confident and experienced in like tarot and oracle cards in general. So yeah, it is a little bit pricier than other mass market deck, but completely understandable. You get so many cards, and compared to like indie decks with this many cards, this is so much cheaper. Some indie decks with this many cards cost more than double, sometimes triple. So this is honestly great value because it has so many symbols that you can think of. Yeah, so this must be the Astral House card. So yeah, this is a US game deck, and they always have really great decks for the price. I really love this deck. It's useful, straightforward, flexible, classic, and it brings so much extra clarity into any reading. I'm not gonna show every card because there's no point. But yeah, I don't know why I didn't buy it earlier. I saw this, but then yeah, I don't know why I didn't buy it, but I'm really glad I got it anyway. It will help me with my like practice and my readings and everything. I'm willing to use it for my client readings one day, once I get more used to it. But yeah, this is just brilliant deck, very, very useful. And this is the Magickal Spellcards by Lucy Cavendish, and it's a Blue Angel deck. I love Blue Angel. I don't have heaps of them, maybe 2 or 3, but their cardstock is always gorgeous. And this deck, honestly, is stunning. Yeah, they are spell cards, so technically you are meant to use them to like manifest what's written on the card, but I don't really do spell work myself. So I use them as an oracle deck, more like a divination deck, and it works perfectly like that. And the guidebook tells you what each card means when it shows up for you, so you can still read it intuitively or as prediction or guidance, because like they are spell cards, everything is positive. Each card is something you'd genuinely want in your life at some point. That's why I use them so much in my pick a card readings. They are brilliant for telling you what good things are coming, what you can look forward to. You know, life gets really hard sometimes, so it actually is lovely having a deck like that. Just gives you a bit of hope, you know. So I don't personally use this for spell work. Maybe one day I might like meditate with them or try manifesting with them, but that's not my like current practice. Still, the deck is really beautiful. Look at this. I think there are about like 4 or 5 different back designs. Yeah, I love the color palette. Muted, dreamy, very classic. I really love this. And fantasy vibes too. The cardstock is very matte and the cards are huge, so they are a bit tricky to shuffle. I have to shuffle them horizontally like that because, sorry, vertically like that, because they don't fit properly horizontally. And you know, my hands aren't tiny. I'm like 5'7", not super tall, but like definitely not a tiny girl, you know. And even I struggle a bit, but yeah, they feel so lovely to shuffle regardless, because yeah, the cardstock is beautiful. I really love using this deck in pick a card readings because the energy is just so positive. It tells you what you can expect, what's coming towards you. I honestly have to stop myself from grabbing it every single time because I've used it so often, but I can't help it. I love it. Sometimes you really need decks like this. We need something to look forward to, something to walk toward, like something hopeful, you know. This deck has such a good vibes. The colors, the artwork, the energy, everything is beautiful. Any card you pull just makes you really happier and a bit lighter, a bit more hopeful. It just has this energy, you know. I don't really use it for myself, but I love looking at it, and I love using it in readings. It's genuinely gorgeous. So yeah, there are like, I think there are 45 cards. So yeah, such a beautiful deck, and it is very useful. Like I think this is like one of those decks that anyone can just have and look at it and just feel positive about it and maybe try manifesting with it, because why not? It's beautiful. And this is Wisdom of the Oracle by Colette Baron-Reid. She's got loads of popular decks, but this is the only one from her that I own. It's actually one of the very first Oracle decks I've ever bought, because at the time I felt like everyone was using it and I didn't really take enough time to explore more Oracle decks back then. But to be fair, it really is a brilliant, very deep, very soulful deck. It's surprisingly profound. Now, the back looks like this, to be honest. the artwork is not my style at all. Every card has a face on it, if you can see it. I don't know. Yeah, and apparently they're supposed to represent the oracle giving you the message. But it really put me off. I don't know why. Something about the aesthetic just never sat right with me. When I first got it, I genuinely kind of forced myself to use it. I read the guidebook over and over, and the guidebook itself is genuinely excellent. Like, it's incredibly meaningful and very thorough. So you get an essential meanings, the oracle's message, plus specific messages for relationships and prosperity. So no matter what type of reading you are doing, this deck has something for it. It's genuinely versatile. There's even a protection message for reversed cards. But I don't read reversals for like oracle decks. It just makes things messy for me. So I only use reversals for tarot. So yes, I pushed myself to use this deck a lot, and objectively, it's great. I use it in my pick a card readings, and it worked beautifully. There is a reason nearly everyone has this deck. It's practically a classic at this point. It's packed with like, so it says it's packed with different divination layers and symbolic systems, but the thing I don't enjoy is also the thing that makes it so powerful. It's too profound. Even reading the guidebook takes effort, and honestly, a huge part of that is because English isn't my first language. I learned it later on when I became an adult. I mean, we learn it at school, but my generation doesn't really know how to speak unless they learn it somewhere else other than school. But anyway, yeah, so it's not as instinctive, you know. So when the material gets really deep and philosophical, my brain has to work extra hard. It's exhausting. I mean, I know how, like, I can just use it intuitively without worrying about the guidebook. But the thing is, this deck doesn't quite speak to me. It used to in some way, but I don't know, the artwork just doesn't resonate with me. And that's why I think I can't even read it more freely. So before filming this video, I was actually planning to declutter this deck. I was gonna give it to my friend, but right before I talked about it, I pulled some cards and they told me not to let it go. Literally, the message was like, keep it because it will always have something important to tell you when you need it. You don't have to use it right now, just keep it for later. So I'm trusting that message. The cardstock is very glossy and quite flimsy, not my favorite at all. They even released a mini version later because the deck became so popular. It has enough depth that you could easily use it on its own without tarot, but personally I don't see myself doing that. To be honest, I think I've grown out of it, but since the card told me not to declutter it, I'm keeping it. For me, oracle cards don't need to be that heavy. Tarot already covers all the profound, symbolic, endless learning territory. With oracle decks, I prefer something more approachable. I don't want to rely on the guidebook every time. But with this one, I almost always have to. I genuinely understand though why people love it. It's fantastic deck. But at this moment in my life, it's just too mentally demanding. I'm busy, I'm a mom, and I'm also pregnant again. I've got so much happenings, and yeah, I'm now about to start studying this deck again, and you probably won't see this in my pick a card readings for a while. Yeah, so we'll see how I feel later. And this is a Korean deck called Hae-eo-hwa, which translates to flowers that understand languages. I wish they had Korean letter on it because I can't read those letters. I mean, these are Korean, but these are not. But anyway, it's based on the stories of Ki-seng, who lived during Joseon Dynasty. So we are talking 500 to like 700 years ago. So people often compare them to prostitutes, but that really oversimplifies it. They were genuine artists, like musicians, dancers, poets, entertainers, like highly trained and very talented. So the card box are gorgeous. I love this. So these items are from that era too. A fan, hairpin, a mirror, a teapot, a small dagger, and these daggers were for women to protect themselves or preserve their dignity, you know, because women had almost no rights at the time. It's tragic, but yeah, the cards themselves are beautiful too. I think though the back design is prettier than the actual card. I mean, some cards look stunning, but the others feel a bit too cartoonish for me. I mean, and they are too pretty, you know what I mean? Still lovely though. The pink edging is absolutely gorgeous. Look at this. So each card is based on real historical women or a legend that's widely believed to be true. So most of these women existed, though not every detail of their stories is confirmed. But you know, considering how harsh life was for women back then, most of the meanings are heavy, you know, sad, tragic, complicated. Only like a handful of cards feel positive, but also that's what gives this deck its strength. It feels honest, you know, life wasn't easy for them. So some cards show women who are incredibly strong and resilient. Others show women who gave in to temptation, sabotaged their situations, or suffered because of circumstances they couldn't control. You know, you learn from both. These, I mean, those who rose above and those who didn't. So I mainly use this for love readings because so many of the stories revolved around love, like heartbreak, longing, separation, and complicated relationship dynamics, but it also works for general life readings, especially if you are facing something emotional or trying to avoid repeating old patterns. It looks dreamy and pretty, but it is absolutely not a light deck. Emotionally, it's quite heavy, but it's stunning on camera, which is why I love using it in my pick a card readings. I'm not sure how much like non-Korean people will connect with this deck, simply because the cultural background is so specific, but relationship struggles are universal, so I still use it. It adds so much depth to love readings. It's a pricier deck, not as cheap as mass market, not quite indie though, but somewhere in between. I'm sure you can get it overseas, maybe on Amazon or something. If I find the link with the authentic card, I will put it below. It's not the most comfortable and easy deck to use emotionally, but I'm glad I bought it anyway because they are so beautiful. Yeah, so I wish I had more Korean decks, but I couldn't find things that exactly like that are my style. But anyway, Hae-eo-hwa Oracle card. So I'll be showing Doreen Virtue's decks from here on. If she's not really your thing, feel free to skip ahead. Now we are talking about the infamous Doreen Virtue. The reason why I still love her decks is because I don't have to agree with her. If she believes tarot is wrong and God is right, for her, fine, more power to her. I don't really care what she's saying about tarot or spirituality. I still like the cards she made back then because I believe she made with good intentions then, and these are honestly great decks. I just think the way she shames people for doing things differently than her is not smart at all. I mean, I've got a chemistry degree and I don't have a religion, but I'm open to everything. To me, that's science. You never fully know what's out there. Even science doesn't have all the answers. So yeah, whether someone believes in God, the universe, themselves, that's their choice. To me, tools aren't evil. You know, the cards are just tools. So intention is what matters. Most tarot readers use their cards with genuine positive intention. I'm not delusional just because I read tarot. I'm a smart and intelligent person. I trust my readings. What you do with messages is always your responsibility. So yeah, when she announced that big change, I started learning tarot and oracle cards around that time, and some of her decks were still available. So these are life purpose oracle cards that I showed you earlier. I got the brand new one, but the rest of them are secondhand. And now I'm gonna show you one by one. So I'm starting with the Romance Angels oracle cards because this one is the deck everyone wanted. When she announced that big change, the second-hand prices went insane. Everyone was trying to get their hands on it, and mine is also second-hand. So this deck is amazing for love readings, of course. It's got the famous gold edgings on the side, and honestly, people were obsessed with that back then, and the artwork is very old school. Very Victorian, and it's actually really beautiful. The messages are very relatable in whatever situation you are in, whether you are in a relationship or if you are single, but I personally feel like this deck works best when you are actually seeing someone or already involved with someone. What surprised me most is how accurate it is. It's only like 44 cards. It's like most of her decks because of the angel number theme or whatever, but it covers everything like separation, reconciliation, commitment, attraction. It's very straight to the point. So you don't even like really need the guidebook. The messages are printed right there on the cards and you can read them like instantly. Very easy to use. So I really like the pink backing as well. It's gorgeous. And the readings are insanely accurate. I mean, everyone already knows this deck, so I won't go on and on about it, but I'm so glad I have it. This deck isn't going anywhere. It's useful, accurate, and honestly more versatile than it looks. There is something special about it. I think it's also because it almost became like a classic romantic deck because so many people use this deck, so it makes it very reliable and trustworthy. And I would go as far as to say it's like tarot in the love oracle cards world. You know what I mean? So yeah, I really like the cardstock as well. It's very flexible, and I think it's the same cardstock as the life purpose oracle cards. But yeah, I don't know, there's something about this deck. It just makes me so happy whenever I pull this out and just looking at it. But anyway, Romance Angel oracle cards. And this is Magickal messages from the Fairies oracle cards, and I absolutely love this deck. I would say this is my favorite Doreen Virtue deck besides my Life Purpose oracle cards. So it came out in 2006, so it's quite old now, 20 years old now. But the cardstock is amazing. It's the same as the Life Purpose oracle one. It's flexible, not overly glossy, and it's got the gorgeous gold edging. So I bought my copy secondhand, but it arrived in such good condition. I mean, you can tell it's been used obviously, but it still feels almost perfect. And I really think that's because the cardstock is just that good. Oh, it's so beautiful. The fairy artwork is stunning. And the back design looks like a magic wand a fairy would actually use. It's just so charming, you know. And like a lot of Doreen Virtue decks, you can tell there are like multiple artists involved, but it still hangs together really well. I think the border design helps with that. Normally I'm not a fan of borders at all, but with this deck it actually works. It suits the theme. So, you know, fairies are like nature angels or plant angels, so it makes sense that this deck is very grounded in everyday life. You've got the timing cards and seasonal cards like spring, summer, autumn, winter, and then cards like death paid off, birthdays, everything's okay, like business, venture, children, son, daughter, you know, you name it. So it really speaks to day-to-day life, but at the same time, a lot of cards are quite hopeful and great for manifestation. You can use it for prediction, guidance, advice. It's very versatile. You know, like even with something like pregnancy card, if you are not trying for a baby or you don't want kids at all, or pregnancy has nothing to do with your life, it still doesn't feel off, because in the guidebook she gives extra meanings. So anyway, pregnancy can be about giving birth to a project, you know, creativity, something new you are bringing into the world. So it doesn't have to be literal. So that's one of the reasons I use this deck so much, you know, especially on TikTok. It's honestly really accurate. There was a time when I was really stressed about something. I pulled a card and the everything's okay card came out, and it actually was okay. Things worked out fine, and it's very positive deck. There are no truly like scary cards, but the positivity doesn't feel fake or delusional because it's focused on everyday life. I feel a very strong connection with this deck. I reach for it a lot. These days I probably use this even more than life purpose oracle cards. I love the purple back design and the gold edging, everything. The whole thing just feels really magical and cozy. You know, I can't even fully explain why it feels so special. It just does. I think it's the balance, like practical, realistic, but still magical, you know. The guidebook is brilliant too. Very easy to read, not heavy at all. So I enjoyed reading it properly, front to back. I also use it in my pick card readings a lot, and also for myself sometimes, you know. I'm not sure yet whether I will be using it in client readings, but I might. In any case, it's a fantastic deck. You can use it for pretty much any topic, and it works brilliantly for predictions as well. So yeah, my favorite card. So the next one is the Magickal Mermaids and Dolphins Oracle card. This is another really old Doreen Virtue deck. It came out in 2003. I bought this one simply because I love mermaids. Mermaids are my favorite magical beings, and that definitely started with Disney's The Little Mermaid. I was obsessed with that film when I was younger. But anyway, I really love the back design of this deck. The border is huge, but for this one, I honestly don't mind. It actually suits the style really well, and the imagery themselves are beautiful. Because these are messages from mermaids, the whole deck feels more spiritual and a bit more otherworldly, you know. So if the magical messages from the Fairies deck is grounded in everyday life and practical matters, this mermaid deck floats a little more up in the spiritual realm, you know. It talks more about your subconscious, your hopes, your dreams, manifesting, and that more like divine guidance kind of energy. It feels more like heaven, sea, realm energy rather than day-to-day life. I mean, you've got, you know, cards like this: self-employment, father healing, mother healing, make a decision. So you can still use it in a practical way, but to me it feels more magical and spiritual overall. And like the fairy deck is quite positive in tone, you can absolutely read this deck intuitively. The guidebook doesn't give you extra meaning, but that's fine because the images themselves are very evocative and ethereal. You can easily sit with the card and let your intuition speak. Again, like there are multiple artists involved, but yeah, the border design holds everything together. Some cards I absolutely adore, others I'm not as in love with. Like this one, I don't really like this one. But in general, it's a really beautiful mermaid feels deck. There aren't any Asian figures in this one either, which I do wish they had. But it is what it is. Energetically, I would say this deck leans more towards guidance and spiritual advice than pure prediction. I mean, you can use it to predict things, of course, you know, and I do that too. But that the vibe is more like higher guidance or divine message, that sort of thing. Maybe that's why I don't reach for it quite as often as the fairy deck. I mean, I still use it often enough to feel it was worth buying, and I don't regret it at all. The one thing I don't love is cardstock. It's not amazing. Some of the cards looks like they are beginning to peel at the edge, and they already looked a bit like that when I first got it. So it doesn't give me that like super satisfying shuffling feeling, but it's still totally usable. So I really love this card. Yeah, I don't stress too much about it. Yeah, there is a yes card too, which is nice. So because it was released back in 2003, I think it's held up reasonably well, and I will probably keep using it years and years still. I mean, I'm really happy I bought it. I love mermaids, and I love having a mermaid themed oracle deck that actually works in readings, not just as decoration, you know. I really love the box. The box is gorgeous too. The design is very magical and dreamy, which matches the energy of the card really nicely. So yeah, compared to the fairy oracle deck, this one is definitely more dreamy and spiritual than practical, but I still really love it. And this one is Angels of Abundance oracle card. It's really hard to say. Anyway, I think this is one of her later decks, maybe even one of her last ones. I'm not completely sure. There are a few more religious style decks that came out after this maybe, but this one is definitely from her later period because it was released in 2017. So the later her decks got, the more religious they became. So she talks much more about God and faith. Personally, I don't really mind. I'm not religious and I don't follow any religion, but I'm open-minded. God could exist, you know what I mean? So it doesn't really bother me at all. So the main reason I bought this deck was the back design. It's so spiritual and so magical. I don't even know what it's meant to be exactly. It kind of looks like a stretched out star. I genuinely don't know what it is, but it's beautiful. I'm not even a big fan of orange as a color, but this one, I actually love it. So yeah, the back design completely won me over. So yeah, the deck is about abundance, money and career obviously, but more than that, it focuses on how to attract abundance, not just predicting events. So it's more about advice and mindset, but you can absolutely still use it predictively. And yeah, I read it like that a lot too. So the guidebook is actually really good. It talks more about a lot about mindset, about how when you step into the flow of abundance, so resources naturally start opening up. The idea is that abundance is unlimited and anyone can have more than enough if they shift their mindset and energy. And I agree, I do believe that people can make money and live comfortably if they learn how to work with their energy. I mean, it's easier said than done, but anyway. So the artwork is really beautiful. So there are angels and like, I don't know, is it dragon? Like dragons, unicorns, all kinds of magical, dreamy imagery, you know. It really is very spiritual. It isn't like particularly diverse. There aren't really any Asian figures in this deck. So yeah, when I say it's not very diverse, that's what I mean. But yeah, visually it's still stunning. The messages are printed on the cards and they're quite long, so you don't really need the guidebook. I really love looking at the artwork. It's really soothing. But if I'm completely honest, the back design is even nicer than the card front. But overall, the deck is still gorgeous. I really like the Santa Claus here. But yeah, cardstock isn't the most luxurious, to be honest. It's not like Life Purpose or Fairy Oracle level, but it's not like flimsy either. It feels solid and sturdy and it's held up really well. So I use this deck a lot for money and career readings, especially on TikTok. I also love using it in pick a card readings when I'm doing the career themes. It's very practical because the messages are more about mindset and guidance, so you can apply them to almost any situation. So yeah, overall, I'm really glad I bought this deck. Every time I look at the back design especially, it just makes me feel so happy. And yeah, I just love the box too. It's really pretty. So yeah, Angels of Abundance Oracle card. It's really mouthful to say anyway. Yeah, I love it. I really just love the idea of having this deck because of the back design. And this is Healing with the Angels Oracle card. And it's actually the oldest Oracle deck in my whole collection. So it was released in 1999, which is kind of wild to think about. But the cardstock is still really good. Yeah, so this deck is brilliant for pretty much everything. Prediction, guidance, advice, all of it. So each card has a simple keyword and an image, and that's it. There is no paragraph on the card, no long sentence. But somehow that makes it much easier for me to tap into my intuition. It's like one single word and an image, so it can open up so many different messages. So that simplicity really works for me. The back looks like this. I'm not in love with the colors or the overall look of the back design. It doesn't exactly scream pretty or aesthetic to me, but the front totally make up for it. I really like what they've done with the borders. Some people call these borders ugly, but I actually think they are really well done. I mean, they change slightly from card to card, like you can see. And they frame the imagery in a way that just feels right for each card. The guidebook is also really good. It doesn't like over explain on each card, which I love because that leaves a lot of space for you to read more intuitively. I mean, you get a nudge, not an essay, you know, because this is such an early Oracle deck. It has this feeling of being very original. almost like it already contains all the basic messages you could possibly need. I mean, at some point, especially when oracles were just beginning to become popular, it feels like we already had the core guidance that people always ask for. The areas we struggle with don't really change that much, like money, work, career, relationships, mental health, emotional well-being, personal growth. But the era changes, but those themes don't. So this deck is also called healing deck, right? But healing here isn't only about being heartbroken or damaged and needing to be fixed. It can also mean improving an area of life, like bringing more balance or nurturing something that matters to you. So it covers all of that really well. Sometimes I genuinely feel like this deck alone is enough. There are only 44 cards, like any other Doreen Virtue deck, but for me it still feels complete. You know what I mean? You can do any tarot spread, then just pull one of these on top and it will give you exactly the extra message you needed. That's why I keep coming back to this idea that the messages we need are universal. We just use different tools and different aesthetics to say the same core truth in different ways. It's the same reason I love tarot so much. Tarot is old but incredibly flexible. The structure stays the same, but the way we interpret each card can change over time. If I pull the same card 20 years from now, my reading might sound very different, simply because the world and my life will be different, but the card still works. So this oracle deck feels similar in that sense. Even with just 44 cards, it feels like it already has everything it needs. I really love this card. Anyway, so the artwork is very classic and has a very calming, uplifting feel. It's not diverse at all, which is a shame, but visually it still feels very timeless. And it says here there are no negative cards in this deck. Maybe somewhere here or here. Yeah, there's no negative card in this deck, because I think that's because the nature of the angel. Because angels always speak to us from a place of love or whatever, and you can actually really feel that. Even if you are asking about something difficult, the message comes through in a gentle, reassuring way. It doesn't ignore your problems, but it doesn't scare you either. You can feel a lot of depth and really good energy in this deck. I got it secondhand and I can tell it's been well used and loved, but it's still very sturdy, very durable. So even though the back design isn't particularly pretty to me, the actual card fronts are so classic and timeless that it genuinely feels like a perfect little deck. You know, it works anywhere, anytime, for any type of question. If you ever manage to find a second-hand copy, I would absolutely recommend grabbing it. I use it mainly for my angel readings on TikTok, but I don't use it constantly at the moment because I have other decks in rotation. But looking at it again now, I actually feel like I should start bringing it back into my readings more. And like I've mentioned before, I do feel a very personal connection with angels, not in a Christian sense at all. I'm not Christian, but as an energy, you know. So for me, this deck feels very special. It's a classic, timeless, almost perfect angel deck in my collection. And this one is Messages from Your Angels Oracle cards. It's another angel deck, but it works quite differently to Healing with the Angels. Each card has the name of the angel and a full message. So the title really says it all. They are literally messages from your angels. So, and there are archangels included as well. I love the back design. It matches the box perfectly, and it looks like we are seeing an angel from behind coming down towards us. the angel's wings, the glove, the whole concept is very cute and at the same time really beautiful. So yeah, each card has a different artwork and design. You can tell like several artists worked on this deck. But each card is tied to a specific angel, which gives each one its own personality and tone. So the messages are surprisingly accurate and very, very good. So compared to Healing with the Angels card, this deck goes into more detail and a bit more specific. So if you are feeling stuck or not especially intuitive one day, you can just read what's printed on the card or in the guidebook. And the guidebook actually is really good. Yeah, and start from there. Most of the time though, once you've read the message, your intuition will start adding extra layers and connections anyway. It's also a nice way to get to know archangels. Because I'm not Christian, I didn't grow up with like these names or stories. I knew the general idea of archangels, but not much more than that. This deck makes it feel a bit like you are reading a myth or a story. You meet each angel as a character, sense what they are like, what they support you with, like what their personality is. So it's fun and it really sparks your imagination. So for my angel readings on TikTok, I often use this deck together with Healing with the Angels Oracle cards. They work really nicely as a pair. I also feel like I should be using this deck more for myself and in my YouTube pick a card readings because it's genuinely such a useful deck. It covers almost every area of life. You can use it for prediction, guidance, advice, just like any oracle really. It's more versatile than it looks at first glance. So the messages are specific but not so narrow that you can't reinterpret them. You can take the literal meaning or expand on it and read between the lines a bit. I do both and it works really well. I'm really happy I managed to get this one. My only problem is time. My life is quite busy at the moment, so I don't get to sit down and play with all my decks as much as I'd like. So this one is also a second-hand copy and it's another older deck. It was released in 2002. The cardstock isn't as nice as Healing with the Angels Oracle cards. It's a bit thinner and feels a bit more flimsy in comparison, but it's still perfectly usable. It will still last for many years. So compared to Healing with the Angels card, this deck feels lighter, more conversational of course, and more specific. It's not just an add-on to that deck. It has its own voice. It also feels a bit more practical sometimes because it can give quite direct advice or even gentle warnings as well as comfort. That's why I love using it alongside Healing with the Angels. One gives a broader intuitive keyword and this one, the other, fills it out with more details, more detailed wording. So, but of course you can just use this one on its own. So yeah, messages from your Angels Oracle card. And this is the Angel Answers Oracle card. I've got the pocket edition. I went for the small one because I figured it would be easier to handle and because this deck is all about quick answers like yes, no, timing and short advice. I felt like I didn't need the full size version. And originally it was branded with both Doreen Virtue and Radleigh Valentine on the box, but after she made her big announcement, her name was taken off and now it's just under Radleigh Valentine. So I don't really file this one mentally as a Doreen deck anymore. There isn't a whole lot to explain because it's a very simple system. You get yes, no answers, timing, quick prediction, and a bit of extra guidance. And the clever bit is the color coding. So blue cards are your yes, no, like, and decision making type answers, like including like choose a new direction for those in between situations where you are hesitating. And yellow cards are all about timing, and pink cards are more like general advice, how to approach the situation, what energy to bring in, that sort of thing. You honestly don't need the guidebook at all. I mean, I did flick through once, but everything on the card is very straightforward. It doesn't go super deep, and that's actually the whole point of this deck. Sometimes it's almost a bit intimidating to use, especially when I really want a certain answer for myself. I do use it for my own questions sometimes, and occasionally for my clients, or like pick a card readings as well, because you know, sometimes we just want a straightforward answers like yes or no. But because it is so blunt and so black and white, I don't always feel comfortable using it. You know, there are readings where I don't want to lock someone into a very rigid yes or no message, or where I know the situation is more nuanced than that. That's where the pink card come in handy. They give more context, more advice, and a softer way of looking at things instead of just shutting the door with a single word. Overall though, it's a really handy little deck. The cardstock is like fine, nothing luxurious, but it does the job, and the pocket size makes it really easy to shuffle and carry around. I'm happy I bought it. It definitely has its role, and I do reach for it whenever I need a clear, simple answer. Even then, I still know it's my intuition choosing the card, so I trust the message that comes through. So yeah, nice little deck, Angel Answers Oracle cards. And this is the Lovers Oracle deck. It's such a cute deck because all the cards are heart-shaped. It's from Blue Angel, and I genuinely love Blue Angel deck. They usually do a really good job. I don't think you can get this exact edition anymore because they've updated the images on the newer print at the front. So I'm extra grateful I managed to get this version, because the design feels like an old handwritten love note, and I really like that vibe. So each card has different pictures on the back, which is beautiful, but if you use it long enough, you start to remember which image goes with which message. That's why when I shuffle, I never pull from the top. I always pull from the bottom, so I can't see the backing, because some of the backs I already recognize. So I prefer not to look at them at all. The artwork itself is gorgeous. I love showing both image and the message together when I use it. This deck talks about like love in general, but the messages lean more towards people who are already involved with someone. So it really does feel like a lover's oracle. If you are already in a relationship or dealing with someone, like a particular person, it hits especially well. There are cards that apply to single people too, like secret admirers, new romance coming in, Cupid's arrow, that sort of thing. But overall, it feels like guidance for people who are already emotionally entangled with someone. What I really like about it is that it doesn't really read like cheesy pep talk. I'm not a fan of overly like fluffy, love and right pep talk messages. And this deck actually gives proper like advice, insight, and guidance. If you are struggling with a relationship or confused about a connection, this can be very spot on. Sometimes when I pull a card for myself, the message is exactly what I need to hear in that moment. I mean, I'm married, but relationships still work for both sides, so it does help. I don't use it constantly for myself, but I definitely reach for it for love readings. It also mentions like twin flame in one card. So if you are into that idea, you'll probably enjoy it even more. I use this deck a lot in my pick a card readings. The box are very useful and perfect for thumbnails. People can just choose the image they've drawn to. So yeah, twin flames. So yeah, it works both visually and energetically. I've had this deck for 6 years now, and I've used it heaps, especially for pick a card. The messages are consistently good. Even if you are single, you can still apply what it says to your own situation. I would say it's more of an insight and advice deck than a pure prediction. It's more about like, what do I need to understand and how should I handle this, rather than this will happen on this date. Like, that's exactly how I use it anyway, as an advice or guidance deck. I'm really happy that I got this particular edition. I don't think it's in print anymore, and I just love this old design, the rolled paper, burnt edges, the rose. It looks so classic and timeless. There is no guidebook, but you honestly don't need one. Everything you need is written directly on the cards. So yeah, lovely little heart-shaped deck. Lover's Oracle cards. This is my very first astrology deck, the Heavenly Bodies astrology deck. When I first saw this, I thought, wow, this might be the most beautiful oracle box I've ever seen. So it opens with this magnetic closure, and everything about it feels like dream, like it's so luxurious. So when you open it, there is a quote inside. It feels like you are looking at someone's private diary. It's that kind of beautiful. There is this ribbon to lift the guidebook, and then with the same ribbon you can lift the deck itself underneath it. And there is another box just for the cards. Even this is well made. So the cards are matte and papery. Yeah, let me put this back again. I really love this soft mint blue color. The whole deck is dreamy, whimsical, and very aesthetic. It covers everything in astrology, planets, like mutual signs, fixed signs, cardinal signs, yin and yang, zodiac signs, aspects, elements, literally everything. Has north node and south node too. You can read with just one card, or you can combine several. If you already know astrology, you'd probably enjoy combining them. If not, you can absolutely just pull one card at a time. I bought this about 3 years ago when I was trying to seriously study astrology. I was reading books, listening to audiobooks. Then I gave birth and everything stopped. Since then, I haven't used this deck because I don't feel confident using it without the guidebook. But the guidebook itself is honestly one of the most beautiful ones that I own. I love it. The cards are stunning, but sometimes they don't give me a clear message. And I think that's because astrology just isn't my main language yet. I've read maybe like 5 astrology books. That's nothing really. I understand the concepts, but I wouldn't say I know astrology. That's why this deck doesn't always spark my intuition the way tarot or oracle does for me. Still, like as an object, it's incredible. It feels more like an art book than just a deck. I even took the guidebook camping once. I still remember sitting there reading it. It really helped me connect with astrology and this deck differently. So the guidebook teaches you how to use this deck and how to combine the cards. So they are really great. Also it gives you an overview of astrology in general. So even if you don't know astrology, you can still read with this deck intuitively. At the end of the day, you know, astrology is a system, but interpretation is personal. So two people can pull the same card and get completely different meanings. So these days though, I don't reach for it much. Pulling just one astrology card doesn't feel like enough for me, emotionally or energetically. But the good thing is, the cards do come with the keywords. So you can just always use those as starting point. I'm definitely keeping this deck. I just don't know when I will properly return to it. I don't know when I will realistically have the time with my second baby coming soon, but I love this deck. I really like it. Really does feel more like artwork than a card deck. I had wanted it for so long, like many years before I finally bought it, and when I did, I was honestly thrilled. So, and reading the guidebook was genuinely fun. So yeah, it's a beautiful artwork, more like Heavenly Bodies astrology deck. So this is my second astrology oracle deck, Oracle of the Radiant Sun, and it's also one of the most recent ones I've added to my collection. I bought it this year, maybe 3 or 4 months ago. The back looks like this, and I really love the design. It's very classic, a bit edgy, and just has that cool without trying vibes. So it doesn't look trendy or modern at all, but that actually makes it feel more timeless. It's the kind of artwork that will still look good years from now. Okay, let me see if you can see clearly. Okay, so this deck is packed with symbolism. So each card combines a planet and a zodiac sign, and it also shows the related house because every house has a natural sign that rules it. They've basically done all the hard work for you on the card. So instead of sitting there thinking, okay, what does this planet in this sign, in this house actually mean? You just look at the card and it's already laid out in front of you. So for someone like me who doesn't have that deep astrology knowledge, that's a massive relief. It makes the deck much easier to use. So yeah, the guidebook is really good as well. It gives you a general overview of like each sign, house and planet. This deck doesn't use the modern outer planet though. There's no Neptune, Uranus or Pluto. It only works with the 7 traditional planets because it's based on Hae-eo astrology. I don't really know much about Hae-eo, but keeping it to the 7 classical planets actually makes it simpler and more traditional, which I quite like. I spent months working my way through the guidebook. It explains some of the symbolism on the card, but it doesn't spoon feed you. Sometimes I genuinely had to stop and look things up because I had no idea what certain words meant. The vocabulary is quite formal and not something you would use in everyday conversation. I had to look up the dictionary. So yeah, because English isn't my language. Yeah, it was fun, but because I really wanted to properly unpack the symbolism and understand it clearly, it took me ages, and I don't exactly have a lot of space. I mean, a lot of spare time right now. I'm really happy I've finished reading it once, but I know I will keep going back to it whenever I use this deck. Because first I want to get familiar with the meanings the creator actually intended and how the whole system fits together. Once I've got that in my body, then I will lean more into intuitive reading with it. You can definitely read this deck intuitively though. There's so much like symbolism in the images that it naturally triggers your intuition. You can just like sit with the card and let the symbolisms talk to you. There are also like keywords on each card, so if those words spark like extra meanings for you, that's perfect. But for now, I still choose to lean on the guidebook because I want to build a solid base with this particular system. Even though I haven't studied astrology that deeply, I've probably listened and read 5 or 6 astrology books in total. I still feel like I can actually use this deck because the card already combines sign, planet, house for you. You don't have to hold the whole system in your head. You don't need to constantly ask yourself, wait, what does this planet mean again, or what happens when this planet is in that sign? With this, the other deck, the Heavenly Bodies Astrology deck that I've got, each card is just one component, one planet or one sign or one house. So the energy can feel a bit too broad if you don't have a strong astrology base. But with this deck, you can happily rely on the guidebook and it feels much more approachable in my opinion. That's why even though I hesitated at first, I ended up buying it. I knew what the structure of the deck was and I could tell it will still be usable for someone like me who isn't a full-on astrology expert. I'm glad I went for it. I don't feel completely fluent with this yet, but there is something about the design I really love. It looks serious in a good way. It actually knows what it's doing. It doesn't feel like a trendy, aesthetically pleasing deck that will go out of fashion in 2 years. It feels like something ancient and solid. That's what makes it so cool in my opinion. I'm hoping as I get more used to it, I will reread the guidebook, of course, and become more comfortable with the system, then start using it more often. I don't think I will use this deck for my client readings anytime soon, but I definitely want to bring it into my pick a card readings and TikTok in the future. I used it once for my 2026 prediction and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, there are 48 cards. So it's quite a big deck in terms of card count, but the cards are so small, so it's surprisingly easy to shuffle. Overall, I'm really happy I bought it. It's a very cool, compact, clever little astrology deck. And this one is more recent decks I picked up, the Sacred Traveler Oracle cards by Denise Linn. I really love her work, but the funny thing is, this is the only deck of hers I actually own at the moment. I've been eyeing it for years, honestly, but something kept stopping me from buying it. I will get to that in a second. So the back has this gorgeous mandala design, the purple tones, the overall vibe is so dreamy and whimsical. It really looks like a page out of a fairy tale book too. So, which is exactly my favorite kind of art. So the whole concept is that there is a traveler. The traveler is some kind of higher aspect of you, your higher self, your soul, or any higher being you personally believe in. This traveler moves through different landscapes and stages, just like we move through different stages in our life. And along the way, the cards give you guidance, predictions, and advice. When I first saw this deck, just from the title and the artwork, I knew it was very me, seeing life as a journey, as traveling through different chapters. The idea really resonates with me. The cardstock is quite matte and sometimes the cards stick together a bit. So it can be a little hard to pull just one card, but it's okay. I still like the feel of it on my hands. But the reason I didn't buy it earlier is because I watched so many flip throughs. I literally went through every single card and I love that there is Asian representation. So the traveler goes to China, goes to Japan, but doesn't come to Korea. Right? So I had this moment of, okay, why didn't you come to Korea? I know it might sound a bit petty, but it was actually important to me. I'm a very proud Korean. I wouldn't want to be any other nationality. Don't you feel that way about your own country anyway? Yeah, I really love where I'm from. We've got such rich history and culture, you know. If you are going to visit Asia in your deck, I thought why not include Korea? But then I stepped back and thought about it properly. There are so many decks out there with no Asian people at all. So the fact that this one does include Asian figures, especially for something released in 2017, is still actually quite good. So at some point I just couldn't resist anymore. A flip through popped up again one day. I watched it and I just thought, okay, this is my deck. I need it. And honestly, even before I owned it physically, I already felt very connected to it. So the guidebook is lovely. The interpretation is, I mean, they aren't completely different from what's written on the cards. They are more like an expansion of the main sentence, but it really helps you sink into the energy of each card. It's a great little book and very easy to read. I mean, I ordered this together with Oracle of the Radiant Sun, and compared to that guidebook, this one was a absolute breeze. After finishing Radiant Sun, starting this felt like a holiday. I didn't have to wrestle with language or symbolism. I could just relax into it, you know. I didn't have to force a connection at all because I already knew this was my deck. The concept, the vibe, the artwork, the purple, even the box, all of it feels very aligned with me. I really love Denise Linn's decks in general. Like, I've watched all of them, but I've been quite strict with myself about not buying too many. Even before having a baby, you know, I tried to only keep decks I actually use and genuinely feel connected to. I feel like I would probably like connect with most of her decks. So yeah, reading with this deck feels like stepping into a fairy tale where you are the main character. You are not just watching a story, you are walking through it, traveling through different passages of life. The feeling is so me, and that I'm honestly just grateful I finally gave in and bought it. So the artwork is beautiful. It feels very human and like heartfelt, not artificial at all. So the energy of the deck is peaceful and reassuring, but still positive. It does give you warnings sometimes, but even when you get the warning cards, you don't feel devastated. They are more like gentle signposts. It's a really wonderful deck, and I'm very happy I picked it up. I have a feeling it might become one of my favorites over time because it's still fairly new to my collection. I'm not quite ready to declare it a top absolute favorite yet, but it definitely was love at first sight. So yes, Sacred Traveler Oracle cards. Just look at this mandala back. It's stunning. And now that I've finally tried this one, I definitely want to explore more of Denise Linn's decks in the future.